Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Thank you for the support on our last couple of videos. Before we begin, please check out our last video that Jen did about Netflix's Fate the Winx Club Saga show. As you know, our review on the trailer is our most popular video currently, and if you want to see if our thoughts from how we review the trailer change from actually watching the show, then please check out Jen's review. Now with all that said, let's begin today's video. Today we'll be talking about the shows that are forgotten and I hear nobody talk about. Now I will only talk about 10 shows and there are thousands of forgotten or not talked about shows. However, these are 10 shows that I have watched that I never really hear anyone talk about ever. With that small intro aside, let's begin with the list. Coming in on number 10, we have Clone High. This was a show that I never heard anyone talk about much, but however, in the last year alone, I have seen people on YouTube talk about the show a lot more, and it's getting a reboot, so that's amazing. For those of you that have not heard of the show, Clone High is a weird adult cartoon show about a high school that is secretly run by a military experiment by the government. The students of the high school are all clones of famous historical figures such as Gandhi, Cleopatra, Abraham Lincoln, etc. The principal, who knows of the experiment run by the secret board of shadowy figures, has his own agenda for the kids. While the secret experiment is going on, the clones are living their regular teen lives. First off, we have Abraham Lincoln, who's in love with Cleopatra and has a friend, Joan of Arc, who's in love with him. While Abraham is trying to woo over Cleo, John F. Kennedy, yes, JFK, is also taking a liking to Cleo. As for the last main character, we have Gandhi, who is really just a chill guy and brings the comedic element to the show. However, the entire cast actually play off each other really, really well. Also, another thing I love about this weird show is how different the clones are to their real-life counterparts, and they're kind of like situation family issues, I should say. Well, like I said, Gandhi, he's entirely different than the Gandhi that, we learn in our history books. Gandhi was a peaceful, non-violent type of guy, and the Gandhi in this show is pretty much a jerk and an asshole, but funny at the same time. But entirely different than how Gandhi was like in real life. Same thing for Abraham Lincoln. He was our president, a strong, determined, dedicated man. And Abe in this show is kind of very weak, pushover, not popular and famous in his school, I should say. And then, like JFK, we know that JFK was a white man. His family, his parents are white people. But in this show, he has two gay, interracial dads. And I absolutely love that. Another interesting thing about the show is its nod to their real-life counterparts in any event in relation to them. For example, JFK's assassination is alluded to in many ways in this show. Honestly, the show is fun and weird and just amazing show to pass your time. Clone High only had one season, 13 episodes, and ran from November 2002 to April 2003 on MTV. I do think it also aired somewhere else, but MTV is where I watched it. The way season 1 ended, the show, it really needed a continuation, and I'm glad that there is going to be a reboot on HBO Max. There is set to be 2 seasons of the show for the reboot. I don't know if they're going to do a continuation, so we're going to get that season 2 that we very much needed because of the way season 1 ended. It was such a cliffhanger. We need to figure out what's going to happen to these characters. So I really hope it's a continuation from season 1, but there is a lot of speculation that a certain character is not going to be in season 2. So I wonder if they're gonna just redo the whole season and just get rid of the fact that they had a certain character in the show. That certain character is Gandhi, if you didn't know. His character had a lot of backlash in India, of course. Like I said, Gandhi, his portrayal in the show is massively different than who Gandhi was in real life, and it really hurt a lot of people, and they did not like Gandhi's portrayal in the show. If you want to know more about that, search up a video on YouTube because people talk about this a lot, or search up any article online because you'll find out like the reason why season 1 got canceled and never just had their season 2 like they very much needed. So I really hope it's a continuation, but with the whole Gandhi situation, I understand if they're just going to kind of reboot everything and start from the beginning. Either way, we're getting more Clone High content, so I'm just not mad, and I cannot wait for the show to come back. Number 9 on the list is Dungeoneer. This show ran for 4 seasons, 53 episodes from September 11th to January 2014. Now, this show was surprisingly good. Dungeoneer is about a 10th grade student named Li Ping who was framed for a massive prank that took place in his school's gym while he was in the bathroom. Li is blamed for the prank since he was the only one not in the gym and since his school bag, which was replaced with an identical one, was full of the supplies used to create the prank. Because of the prank, Li is given a full year of detention, and he spends his time trying to uncover who set him up. However, he does this during detention, so he has to sneak out, solve pieces of this mystery, and then get back to detention without the school's new principal, Barrage, finding out. While trying to find out who framed him, Li discovers a conspiracy under the school. However, the conspiracy that he uncovers has ties to his family, and just damn, the plot thickens and gets super juicy. While Li is being a massive detective, he's juggling being a regular school teen with a crush on the school's reporter. What I like about the show is how it starts off with Li in the middle of a bad situation before going to the beginning of the show to show us how we got to this point. Another thing I like is that there isn't any character that I really don't like. I mean, I guess besides the school reporter, his crush Tina, I don't know. Each character has a personality and is very much likable. Next, another thing I find really interesting about the show is that there are these like robots or these hazmat suit people that are always shown in the show and around the school, and like literally nobody questions it. There are some like other weird things like this like creature Tazern. I don't even know what they call it because I can't even pronounce it. But this like little creature thing that's like always shown in the school's vent, and no one questions that either. In all, Dungeoneer is a really, really interesting show, and I think you'll like it, especially seeing this mystery unfold, especially since every time Li like gets closer to finding the truth, there's always someone next to him, like a shadowy figure. We don't know who it is. The person makes sure that Li doesn't get closer to solving who actually created the prank. Honestly, Dungeoneer is a good show, and watch it, and please jam out to that sweet, amazing theme song. Number 8, we have Freakazoid, which aired from September 1995 to June 1997 for 2 seasons, 24 episodes. Unlike Clone High, that started to air before I was born and finished airing the year I was born, Freakazoid aired years before my time, and I could not tell you, as someone who was born in 2003, how and where I watched this amazing show. Now, for those of you who don't know, Freakazoid is your basic superhero show. The show follows Freakazoid, a weird and insane superhero who fights various villains. The show focuses a lot on comedy than action since Steven Spielberg, who collaborated on this project with Warner Bros. Animation, wanted the show to have a lot of comedic effects. Freakazoid, of course, is the alter ego of Dexter Douglas, who was once a normal high school student who later got powers when he gets absorbed by his computer, and I won't spoil how this happened if you haven't watched the show before. And for Dexter to become Freakazoid, he has to shout phrases like freak out and freak in, similar to how Marinette and Adrian from Raka's Ladybug say Tiki spots on or Plague claws out. Freakazoid parodies superhero content and tropes, for example, him having an alter ego, him having a secret base he calls the Freak Layer, like how Batman and his shows has like Batcave and stuff like that. If you enjoy superhero content, especially love superheroes who are extremely funny, or they try to be, and you can enjoy those type of characters, then I think you should definitely check out Freakazoid. Honestly, it won't disappoint. Number 7, we have Captain Planet and the Planeteers. This is another show that came way before my time, even earlier than Freakazoid. Captain Planet aired from September 1990 to May 1996 and ran for 4 seasons. This was a show that really introduced me to how harmful humans can be to the planet. In the show, Gaia, who is the spirit of the earth, is being hurt by the destruction put onto her by the humans. Because of this, she sends out 5 rings to 5 people around the world, and each ring, since they're magical, holds a special power. The ring that goes to Africa has the power of earth. The ring that goes to North America has fire powers. The one that goes to Eastern Europe has wind powers. The one that goes to Asia has water. And finally, the one that goes to South America has the power of the heart. And when all these kids come together and when they combine their rings, they call upon Earth's mightiest hero, Captain Planet. The Planeteers and Captain Planet fight against what is plaguing and polluting the world, while educating the viewers at the same time. Side note, with the whole ring thing with the fire and the water, it honestly reminded me of w.i.t.c.h. The show has nothing to do with w.i.t.c.h, but how the 4 out of the 5 girls of w.i.t.c.h all have kind of elemental type powers, and then Will, the 5th one, just kind of had I can't remember what her power was, but I'm pretty sure it was something similar to how the one of the rings is heart. I couldn't not think about that when I was reviewing what Captain Planet was. It's honestly, it has nothing to do with Captain Planet. I just wanted to mention it. But yeah, Captain Planet, definitely go check it out if you never watched it before. The animation is it was made in the 90s, and you can definitely tell that, but I think that it still holds up kind of today. Check out Captain Planet, please. Number 6, we have Martin Mystery. When I was a kid, I watched this show alongside Totally Spies. Martin Mystery began airing in my birth year of 2003 in October and finished airing in 2006. The show ran for 3 seasons. Martin Mystery is about a 16-year-old high school student who works for a paranormal organization called The Center. Martin, along with the organization, fights against any supernatural threats. Martin has an interest in the paranormal before he joined the organization, and after he finds himself working for the organization, he becomes the leader of his group, which consists of his sister and Java, a caveman who works at the school. When I was younger, I fell in love with any show, superhero related or not, that had people fight crime and keep their identities a secret. So I love shows like Young Justice, Totally Spies, Martin Mystery, Freakazoid, etc. Another reason I love this show was the fact that Martin is a very flawed character. Though he has a great passion for the paranormal and is a skilled agent, his immature and clumsy behavior and huge ego shows at times, and I like seeing the dynamic between him and his teammates play out. And when I mean teammates, I really just mean his sister, because they clash a lot. I think if you like spies and undercover related shows, or if you're a fan of the CW Supernatural like I am, then I think you will like Martin Mystery, especially if you like when they explain a monster's lore to you and you get to see how they stop it. There is a special charm for the show, and I love how they travel to different places and fight monsters and solve crimes. This show is just so fabulous that I read the comic books it was adapted off of, and if this video wasn't too long, I would go into great detail about the show, but alas, I can't. But hopefully, if you guys want, I'll make a dedicated video for the show. I'm telling you right here and right now, I'm going to continue rewatching Martin Mystery, because it's snowing outside currently while I'm recording this. It's February 18th on a Thursday, and it's snowing. And My Mysteries and Totally Spies are 2 good shows that you just watch when it's kind of raining and snowing outside. Jen brought this up when I was reviewing my script with her, and she said that, and I totally agree. I'm definitely gonna watch My Mystery because it's a snow day outside, and I just wanna have some hot chocolate and watch Martin Mystery. Guys, I cannot express enough. Watch Martin Mystery, please! Number 5, we have Haunted, Secret, and Seekers. Now, this was a show I was surprised I watched and enjoyed. Haunted aired from January 2009 to December 2011 and ran for 2 seasons. This show, surprisingly, was created by the same man who created w.i.t.c.h Club. Now, if you don't know what w.i.t.c.h Club is, go check out the numerous videos we have done so far in the series. So, just like Winx, each character is based off someone in real life, someone famous. Dante is Johnny Depp, Zalia as Demi Moore, Sophie as Gwyneth Paltrow, and so on and so on. Haunted is a show about Locke Lambert, who is in search of his missing father because with his friend Sophie, or not really his friend, a girl that he kind of persuade into tutoring him because he just doesn't pay attention in school. So with his friend Sophie, he uncovers his father's journal. And his father's journal is just full of just writing and ancient artifacts and details and descriptions of magic and things like that. Basic stuff people write in their journal. An evil organization attacks Locke and Sophie for the journal, and Sophie, she has power, she fights back. After the attack, Locke is introduced to the w.i.t.c.h Foundation, where he and the new people he meets tries to find his missing father and eventually stop the evil organization and their plans. And while on this team of his, Locke also uncovers that magic is real, and those who wield it are called Seekers, and those and then there are creatures known as Titans, and there's also a talking Titan, part of his team, and it gets weird. Now, as a kid, I was very much into magic shows like Winx, but not much into boys being able to do magic. Guys, I'm not sexist. I think this was just because of all the magical girl anime shows that were going around while I was watching w.i.t.c.h. So I was kind of persuaded, brainwashed as a kid to think that only girls can do magic or have powers. And that's kind of very weird to me, because I watched Harry Potter as a kid, and I absolutely love Harry Potter, and there are guys who are wizards in that show. So, I don't know. I know that I saw w.i.t.c.h as a kid when I was watching it, but honestly, I could care less about what the show was going on. And I was only actually pretty young to understand everything that was happening, so I just didn't really care. And it wasn't until 2-3 years after, sometime when I was in middle school, that I actually rewatched the show and appreciated it. I appreciate it a lot, and I very much like it. And I think that you guys should watch w.i.t.c.h if you haven't seen it. And just like the Dungeoneer, and just like any of the shows I mentioned so far, jam out to the w.i.t.c.h theme song, because God, it's amazing. Next, we have Class of the Titans. Class of the Titans ran from December 2005 to June 2008 for 2 seasons. Damn, was this a good show. As a kid, this show is one of those prophecies type shows, but instead of one person being a hero, it's multiple people, and I like that this is a group effort type of thing, so it makes it way more interesting and decreases the chance of a single character becoming such a Mary Sue. Now, the show kicks off with the Titans called Kronos escaping from prison. Kronos is also a god. He's like the god of the Titans, so there you go. He escaped from prison during New Year's Eve when all the planets happened to be aligned, and he's been in prison for thousands of years in Tartarus. Kronos is out and wreaking havoc. If you don't know Greek mythology, he was imprisoned by his 3 kids because, he was power hungry. So, there we go. The prophecy states that 7 teens would become heroes and have to stop Kronos and the Titans that, he's controlling and stuff. Now, when I watched this as a kid, I didn't much care for the show. I didn't understand its connection to Greek mythology. However, years after when I rewatched it, I appreciate it a lot more because I understand, and I am a Greek mythology lover now, so I absolutely love what Class of the Titans was doing. And I love to see Greek mythology stories depicted on the screen. It's absolutely incredible when it is. I also love how the 17 chosen are descendants of Greek gods. So we have Jay, who's the leader and descendants of Jason, who was a Greek hero and leader of Argonauts? Probably said that wrong. And yeah, he's the great grandson of Hermes through his mother's side. Next, we have Atlanta, the hunter of the group, and descendants of Atalanta, who was a huntress, or she could be the descendants of Artemis, because I thought it was Artemis, and the show says it's Artemis, but online it says Atalanta. It says that the show changed it to her. Now, I didn't rewatch the whole show for this video, so I wouldn't know. So, we'll just say she's the descendants of both of them. Yeah, next we have Harry, the Brawn and descendants of Hercules. But if you know that Hercules is a Roman god, the Greek god name is actually Heracles. And this is definitely off topic, but the Romans adopted the story of Heracles and named their god Hercules. And now we all know like what Hercules story is. I think like to me, he's like the most well known god besides Zeus. So like we y'all know the story if you watched the Disney movie. So I don't have to go into detail about who Heracles is. After Harry, we have Archie, the warrior descendant of Achilles, and Archie is the youngest on the team. Now we all know about Achilles and him being the hero of the Trojan War and stuff. We learned that in like in elementary school, I think so. I won't go into detail on that. Next we have Teresa, the fighter who is a descendant of the Zeus. Next we have Odie, the brains descendant of Odysseus, a Greek king and hero. Lastly we have Neo, the good-looking descendant of Narcissus, who was a hunter and well known for his beauty. I never really liked Narcissus in any of the stories that I read about him because he was someone who fell in love with his own freaking reflection from the water, and like he just never got into any romantic relationships. He was just obsessed with himself, and the word narcissism derived from him. As for Neil, I don't like hate him, and he's my least favorite character of the show, but I still don't like characters who are just too obsessed with themselves. But Neil is pretty funny, so like Neil's his portrayal on the show makes up for him being the descendant of Narcissus. Anyways, I think anyone who doesn't understand the Greek connection behind characters like Kronos, and like I said, he was Zeus's, Poseidon, and Hades' father, and those three, they worked together to imprison Kronos when he kind of went like batshit crazy. And if you don't know the background on how the Titans were formed and who any of the Greek gods are in general, like you don't need to worry. You can easily still enjoy the show, but however the show does explain everything really well for you to understand if you wanted to. Another thing I love about the show is that the characters are themselves. Yes, they're descendants of gods, and of course they have similarities and interests, and they play roles within the gods that they're descendants of, but they're their own people, and they're honestly really, really likable. In the first episode, before each of the characters are kind of scouted and found by Hermes, we get to kind of see a little scene of what they're really interested in. Jason, he likes looking at stars, and that's what he did when we first see him in the show. But he's also a teacher who teaches students how to kind of row boats in the water. So like those kind of things, we see that in the show, and I really like that they gave these characters some interest in hobbies and things that they like. It makes them way more interesting than them being kind of like carbon copies of the descendants of the gods. Each of the characters in the show also has like powers or abilities or like weapons that they use to fight, and they even show their love lives and they show their flaws. And yes, these characters, they have flaws, and that means there is character development within the show, and I live for that. I could really go on forever about the show and its balance of being slightly educational when teaching you about like Greek myths and things like that, but also action based. But we don't have time for that, and we need to move on because we have 3 more entries on this list, and this video is already getting long. I'm looking at that time limit, and it's not looking so good. But before I move on, just let me know if any of you guys watched Netflix's Blood of Zeus. The premise of that show and Clash of the Titans is different, but I would like to know which one you would rather watch, because they're both like adaptation of Greek stories and Greek characters. And the myths and things like that. And I know that Netflix beats Titans in better animation and visual style, but I don't know that I think that if you take away the gore and Blood of Zeus, maybe I would kind of lean to Titans more in story, because the story in Blood of Zeus was just not that interesting to me. And that's just me, but let me know what you guys think. Number 3, we have Superbook. There was a Superbook anime, surprisingly, that ran in the early 80s, but I will be talking about the remake or the American adaptation. I literally have no idea what to call it. Anyways, the more recent Superbook ran for 4 seasons and started airing in 2011. You literally cannot find much of the show online, like information wise, or at least for me, I couldn't. So I really have to rely on my memory. But this was a Christian show. Though my mom is a Christian, she did not force my sisters and I to watch the show at all because she really wasn't a TV person and had no idea that the show was a thing. We chose to watch it out of our own free will. Now, I am a Christian, not such a heavy believer. I do believe a lot in science and how it can explain a lot of things. And I say this because though I'm a Christian, I don't like Christian shows and movies because of how it really pushes you to convert to their beliefs. For Superbook, it really wasn't like that, or at least I can't remember it being like that. You had 2 kids and a robot companion traveling back in time in the Bible. They do this whenever they have a problem in the real world, and where they travel in the Bible will help them solve or help them deal with whatever is happening with them in their world. It was straightforward and talked a lot about the Bible, but made it very easy for kids to understand what the Bible was talking about, especially since you would have to go to church every Sunday and had no idea what your pastor was saying. I am telling you, about 70 to 85% of everything I know about the Bible came from this one show. Another thing I liked about Superbook is the music. Oh, God, I remember liking every song they ever had. It was so good. After all that said, there really isn't much to say about Superbook. It's a Christian show. So with that small and vague summary out the way, let's move on to our number 2 on the list. Number 2, we have Angel's Friend. And I was going to do a whole video on Angel Friends months ago. I had the script written and parts of the video recorded, and I never continued. I don't know if I would make an in-depth video since I'm talking about it now, but we'll see. Anyways, Angel Friends ran for 2 seasons, 104 episodes from October 2009 to March 2010. So, Angel Friends is a show about angels and devils going to school together, the school being called Golden School. Each group, the angels and the devils, are studying and training to become guardian angels or guardian devils. Though the 2 groups exist and stay at the same school, they are not to mix in any kind of way romantically. They just, have to, while on Earth, help or hurt humans with the choices and actions they make. An evil lady, she's in prison in limbo, and she uses the fact that our main girl Raph and the main character boy Sophus, who are an angel and devil respectively, have feelings for one another, which is forbidden. And it's called something, I can't remember what it's called, but their romantic feelings for each other will help her get out of prison. So she kind of with her minion who can go in and out of limbo, persuade and kind of push Raph and Sophus to get together. This show is boring and good at the same time. With knowing the plot, you kind of wait for it to pick up and get interesting, and it does pretty quickly, but because I don't really think of any of the characters, I don't think that they're likable. It feels like you're waiting a long time for something to happen. I like the fact of a relationship being forbidden. We have Romeo and Juliet, but just like Romeo and Juliet, or just like Juliet, I also found Raph to be so annoying and really unlikable. That is just me. I always have a problem with the main character of shows. I always seem to really, really dislike them. It's a habit I have to break because there are great shows out there that I just don't give a chance because I just don't like the main character. Raph is really annoying, and she just kind of reminds me of Bloom from Wings Club, and I know I will get attacked, but I just don't like Bloom from Wings Club. But besides Raph being super annoying, the show itself it's alright. The animation is honestly weird at times, and the overall style of the show, it just isn't bad, and the message of it is common, but it's still good, I guess. The action is also good too. I honestly, it seems like I'm bashing the show, but I'm not. I don't know. I like the devils more than the angels because they're more likable than the angels are. I just can't relate to any of the angel characters. I just couldn't, and it does seem like I'm bashing the show, but At times, the show is it's really good and a lot more interesting, but only when the story picks up in the later half of season 1. And in the movies and season 2 was also pretty good. But I think that if you do like Winx Club or literally any magical girl, fairy, witch like show, then I think Angel Friend is enjoyable to watch. It's not a good show overall. But I think that you won't mind spending a couple hours just sitting down watching a couple episodes. Side note, I don't know why, but I just really, really like the theme song, and I burst out singing to the Angel Friends theme song literally out of nowhere and all the time. And I do this with me singing this theme song and me singing the theme song of our number 1 spot on the list. Guys, I see the time, you see the time, and it shouldn't be this long. I just ramble way too much. But if you're still here watching the video, thank you guys so much for still sticking around and watching. I do want to say a couple of honorable mentions before we get to our number 1 spot. And these honorable mentions are Amazing Spies, and if you didn't know, that is the spin-off series to Totally Spies, Monster Buster Club, Pearly, Secret Millionaires Club, and Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego? And if you know about the Carmen Sandiego Netflix show, this was the original Carmen Sandiego, and it was actually really good. There are a lot more honorable mentions, but I would like to save that for any future videos we do because I would like to talk about them in detail. And that also goes for some of the honorable mentions I already stated. Maybe I'll do a full video on those shows as well. Now, number 1, we have Tara Duncan. This show ran from June 2010 to June 2011. Tara is about an Earth girl who finds out she is a spellbinder and fights evil with her 2 friends, Sparrow, who's a spellbinder and who can also transform into a beast, and the second friend is Cal, who is another spellbinder and is part of a family of thieves. The show takes place on Otherworld, and, I hated the fact that the Winx Magic World and the Netflix Winx live action was called Otherworld, but since Tara Duncan also calls it Otherworld, it is less stupid than I thought it was, and I like it better when they do it in this show than in that horrible excuse of a Winx adaptation. Now, I'll try my best to talk about the show, since little is actually found online about the show. However, you can learn a lot more about the books that the show was adapted from, but there are just some small differences between both versions. Now, Tara and her friends have to fight evil magic users, and they can take the shape of humans, vampires, elves, literally any creatures, etc. Tara Duncan is just your standard group fight evil person every episode. Usually we see the alpha team in the show, which are Sparrow, Tara, and Cal, but at times we see the beta team consisting of Robin, who is a half-elf and, maybe possible love interest for Tara. Fafnir, who is a princess who doesn't use magic, like she refuses to use it, but she likes to use her own strength to fight, and, we love confident women who can use her own strength to fight creatures. And Fabrice, he's actually one of my favorite characters after Sparrow, and he is a half-wolf, and he is also the most recurring person of Team Beta in the show. There really isn't anything like super special about this show, and there's nothing much I can actually say about the show because, like I said, little's found online about the TV show itself, but I think that the show's really enjoyable, and I absolutely loved it when I was younger, and I think that you should give it a try and check it out, because I don't think you will be disappointed. Now, I gave you my list of either forgotten or not talked about shows. When I was working on this video, I realized that some of these shows are not American created shows, and I really didn't know that when I was a kid. Clone High is a Canadian-American show, Dungeoneer is a Canadian show, Freakazoid is an American show, Captain Planet is an American show, Martin Mystery is an Italian, French, and Canadian show, Hunted, Secret, and Seekers is an Italian show, Class of the Titans is a Canadian show, Superbook, I'm assuming, is an American show because, like I said, there is not much found online about the show, Angel Friends is an Italian show, and lastly, Tara Duncan is a French show. I find it interesting, and you guys can relate, but a lot of the shows we watched when we were younger were shows made either by Italy, France, or Canada, or anywhere else, and were brought to the US, and they just had English voice actors dub over it so we can watch and understand the show and enjoy it. So yeah. Okay, before we finish this video off, I want to rate each show by nostalgic factor and then rate it after I watch some of the episodes of the show. So here I go. Clone High's nostalgic factor was a 6 out of 10. Now I rate it about a 9 out of 10. Detention Dare nostalgic factor is a 10 out of 10, and I still stand by that rating. Freakazoid nostalgic factor was a 6 out of 10, since it was one I didn't really remember so much in detail. But after rewatching a couple episodes, I would put it at about an 8 or 9 out of 10. Next, we have Captain Planet and the Planeteers. Its nostalgic rating was a 10, and now we're rated at 6 or 7 out of 10 purely because of the animation. Then we have My Mystery, and its nostalgic rating, I had it at a 10 out of 10, and I stand by that after rewatching. The same goes for Hunted Secret and Seekers. After we have Class of Titans, and I had it about a 5, 6 out of 10, and now I would probably put around an 8 out of 10 just because I understand more of the Greek mythology. Next, we have Superbook, and I rated it a 10 out of 10 because, damn, I did love this show when I was a kid. Now I say it's about a 6 or 7 out of 10. Next, we have Angel Friends, and I rated it a 10 out of 10, and now I rated about a 7, I think. Lastly, we have Tara Duncan. I rated it, before I watched it, a 10 out of 10. That's my nostalgic rating. And now I rated about a 7 or 8. My rating is just based on whether I think the show is still as good as it was when I was a kid. If the rating now is below or higher than how I felt the show was when I was younger, or how I felt the nostalgic rating was. We are finally done. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I honestly, I really don't want to edit this because I see how long it is. But I really hope you guys do enjoy, and let me know if you watch any of these shows as a kid, or let me know if you're gonna think about watching any of these shows, or look up any of these shows, or maybe watch a review at least on any of these shows, because I think that some of them still hold up today, and they're still very much entertaining, and I think that you can still watch them now. Some not so much, but others I think you can. Let me know what you think about today's video. I promise if I make another part to this with more entries to forgotten / not talked about shows, or if Jen makes it, promise we won't make them as long as today's video was. This was definitely a trial and error, but yeah, just let me know if you guys have any suggestions for future videos. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like what you saw today. Thank you so much for the support, and Jen and I will see you guys next time. Bye, and remember, stay a kid at heart.